Well, it's a striking geopolitical moment that's, I think, terrible for the West because you have Trump, who is giving serious concessions in the Kim Jong-un summit, for example, without any concrete concessions in return. The same may happen in Russia. And Vladimir Putin's main foreign policy goal for the past 2 decades has been to splinter the transatlantic alliance, basically to drive a wedge between Europe and the United States. He's failed to do that until Trump. And now Trump is treating America's democratic allies in Europe far worse than countries like Russia by imposing tariffs and real costs on them while praising Vladimir Putin. And that creates an emboldened Kremlin, right? After they have interfered in the 2016 election, after they have conducted attempted assassinations on European soil, after they have annexed Crimea, the last thing the American president should do is give concessions and meet with international legitimacy while Europe's trying to isolate him. And yet that's what we're about to see in Helsinki.
And as James was pointing out, there is no clear agenda at this point in time. James, just coming back to you, another thing that I thought is quite interesting is that despite everything that's going on, President Trump's popularity has been going up. It's at 42% now. What do you think this means? Does it have any implications for the upcoming midterms?
Yeah, listen, well, you always like to, negotiate from a position of strength, whether you're going to summits, whether you're negotiating trade deals, of course, when you're going to election. The presidential approval rating is a huge factor in whether Republicans will do well, hold the House, hold the Senate in November. And I think when you have an energized Republican base, they're going to be more energized because of the Supreme Court pick. You also have an economy where the unemployment rate continues to drop, where wages appear to be accelerating, where economic growth almost certainly is accelerating. That's a pretty strong hand to be going into a midterm election, which not so long ago, people thought there would be this sort of blue Democratic wave, and now the wave perhaps is not as strong as what people had thought, not so long ago.
Brian, do you agree with that sentiment? I mean, reports are suggesting that it would be perhaps a little bit easier for Democrats to regain the House, but not necessarily the Senate.
I think the fundamentals still favor the Democrats to take the House and not to take the Senate. I think there is a massive enthusiasm among the left in America right now. And I think it's important to point out that when we talk about approval ratings, absolutely, Trump is right that the economy is strong. And it's striking to see very bad historic approval ratings in the low 40s with a growing economy and low unemployment. That doesn't happen normally. He's around areas where Obama was at the low point of his presidency, at the worst economic moment in American history since the Great Depression. So I think while we can try to say this is a horse race and, his approval ratings are increasing, they're still historically low, especially for a peacetime president with a growing economy. And that is a striking liability going into the midterms.
So let's talk about the strength of the economy here. Tariffs. So far, and the latest polls that I've read suggest that the public, as of now, is pretty divided on where they stand on tariffs, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. But you're hearing increasingly amount of stories and segments of the market. You've got farmers, etc. Yeah. We're beginning to say that, look, this is actually going to harm our businesses, and we're very worried. You hear the likes of Harley Davidson, etc. Big companies are now speaking out. Do you think President Trump, is going to be sensitive to hearing these types of comments come out of key companies? And if so, if there's a change in tide, do you think he could perhaps backtrack on some of these policies?
Yeah, so I think there's 2 points here. One is that economists are not divided on whether tariffs are good or bad. They are bad. They are going to increase prices. They are going to hurt American jobs. The second point is that China and other people who are targeted by Trump's tariffs are retaliating by going after Trump's base. So for soybeans, for example, which is a major part of Trump's base, he won 8 of the top 10 soybean producing states. That's what China is targeting. They're going after his base, and that could have serious political ramifications, because if those farmers are really hit hard, they might eventually turn on Trump. Even though the broader economic picture may be good, it's not good for them under a tariff scenario where they're hit very hard by China's retaliatory tariffs.